Layers and layers and layers of information are coming out, not just because objects are being examined in detail, but also because new technologies can be applied to them.
The gold mask of Tutankhamun is framed by a nemes, a special striped headdress, depicted here with inlays of blue glass.
For more than a century, the golden burial mask of King Tutankhamun has been one of the most recognizable objects on Earth. It has long been accepted as a masterpiece created specifically for the young pharaoh. Recently, however, new scientific techniques have allowed researchers to look beneath its polished surface in unprecedented ways. What emerged from those scans suggested that the familiar story surrounding the mask may be incomplete. Beneath the gold, researchers identified minute details, subtle alterations at a microscopic scale, and traces of changes that had never been documented before. These findings did not represent a single dramatic flaw, but rather a pattern that raised serious questions. Together, they pointed toward a long-hidden history, one that challenges assumptions about how this iconic object was made and for whom it was originally intended. Cracks in the golden face. When Howard Carter opened Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, he uncovered an astonishing collection of treasures: gilded chariots, statues, jewelry, and a royal throne. At the center of it all, inside the innermost of 3 coffins, lay the object that would come to symbolize ancient Egypt itself: the solid gold funerary mask. The mask stands just over 21 inches tall and weighs more than 22 pounds. It is crafted from gold and inlaid with materials such as lapis lazuli and turquoise. For the ancient Egyptians, this was not merely decoration. Gold was believed to be divine material, the flesh of the gods. The mask's purpose was deeply spiritual: to protect the pharaoh's mummy and ensure that his soul could recognize its body in the afterlife. A protective spell from the Book of the Dead was even carved into its back. For decades, the mask was regarded as flawless, yet from the very beginning, there were elements that troubled experts. King Tutankhamun died unexpectedly around the age of 19, likely from complications following a severe leg injury. Egyptian tradition required that a pharaoh be buried within 70 days of death. Within that narrow window, craftsmen would have needed to prepare a tomb, create nested coffins, assemble thousands of grave goods, and produce this intricate gold mask. The timeline seemed implausibly tight. The tomb itself reinforced the sense of urgency. It was unusually small for a pharaoh. Wall paintings appeared rushed and incomplete. Even the massive stone sarcophagus showed signs of damage, as though it had been hastily forced into a space that was never designed to hold it. When researchers examined the burial goods more closely, further inconsistencies emerged. Some statues bore facial features that did not resemble Tutankhamun. Certain pieces of jewelry appeared to have been designed for a woman. Attention soon returned to the mask itself. One detail stood out immediately: the ears were pierced. In ancient Egypt, pierced ears were associated with women and children, not adult male pharaohs, especially not on sacred funerary objects. The facial features also appeared unusually delicate, and the gold of the face had a subtly different tone from that of the headdress. A controversial idea began to circulate. Perhaps the mask had not been made for Tutankhamun at all. Faced with the 70-day deadline, priests may have taken an existing royal mask, altered it, and placed it on the young king's mummy. If that were true, the question became unavoidable: whose mask had it been originally? The beard and the beeswax. Speculation increasingly focused on Queen Nefertiti, Tutankhamun's stepmother and one of the most powerful women of the period. After the death of her husband, Akhenaten, she vanished from official records. Some scholars believe she ruled briefly as pharaoh under a new name. A mask originally made for her would explain the pierced ears and refined facial structure. For much of the 20th century, this theory remained unproven. Testing the idea directly would have required damaging the mask, something no authority was willing to allow. That changed in 2014 when an accident forced conservators to intervene. During routine cleaning at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, the mask's braided ceremonial beard snapped off. In a moment of panic, museum staff attempted a repair using industrial epoxy adhesive. The result was immediately visible and widely criticized. Glue residue smeared the chin, and news of the incident sparked international outrage. The Egyptian government responded by launching an investigation and assembling an international conservation team led by German specialist Christian Ekman. His task was to remove the epoxy and restore the mask using appropriate ancient methods. Before reattaching the beard, Ekman took the opportunity to examine the mask with modern scientific tools. His team employed high-resolution X-ray fluorescence scanning, or XRF, a technique that reveals the elemental composition of materials. If the mask had been altered, if parts had been cut away, replaced, or soldered, the scans would detect differences in the gold alloys or signs of heat damage. After months of analysis, the results appeared conclusive. The gold of the face and the headdress matched perfectly, indicating they came from the same source. The inscription bearing Tutankhamun's name showed no signs of an earlier name being erased. Even the delicate blue glass inlays were intact. Any high-temperature soldering would have destroyed them. Ekman concluded that the mask had been made as a single piece specifically for Tutankhamun. The pierced ears, he suggested, were simply a stylistic choice or a reference to the king's youth. With the beard reattached using beeswax, the same material ancient craftsmen would have used, the mask was restored and the debate seemed settled. Peering into the gold, Ekman's findings became the accepted explanation, repeated in textbooks, museums, and documentaries. Yet, not everyone was convinced. A small group of researchers argued that the unresolved details, the rushed burial, reused coffins, and pierced ears still did not fit comfortably within the official account. Their concern was not with Ekman's data, but with the limits of the technology he had used. X-rays and XRF scans are excellent at detecting differences in density and composition, but they cannot reveal how metal was worked over time. If ancient artisans had used gold from the same source to alter the mask, or if they had reshaped inscriptions without adding new material, those changes could remain invisible. Around this time, a new method had emerged: quantum resonance imaging. Unlike conventional scans, this technology does not simply capture an image. It analyzes the behavior of individual atoms, mapping not only structure, but also molecular history. It can detect whether metal was heated, cooled, reheated, or hammered at different stages, even when the material appears uniform. A privately funded research group, operating under the name Project Osiris, received permission from the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities to test this technology on the mask. The goal was modest: to validate the scanner's capabilities. In late 2024, after hours, the team brought the device into the Grand Egyptian Museum and began scanning the mask layer by layer. For most of the session, the data confirmed what was already known. Then the scan reached the cartouche containing Tutankhamun's name. What the quantum scan revealed: the results overturned decades of certainty. The quantum data showed clear evidence of what researchers described as thermal ghosting around the outline of the face, a molecular signature indicating that this section of gold had been heated differently from the surrounding areas. This suggested the face had been attached from behind, using a technique that left no visible damage on the surface. The ears provided even stronger evidence. While X-rays showed solid gold, the quantum scan revealed cylindrical plugs embedded within the earlobes. These plugs were made from the same gold alloy as the rest of the mask, then hammered and polished so perfectly that the seams disappeared. The original pierced holes had been deliberately filled. The most striking discovery lay beneath the inscription. At an atomic level, the gold in the cartouche showed signs of intense reworking, hammering, and flattening that did not appear elsewhere on the mask. Using this data, the scanner's software reconstructed the faint traces of the original hieroglyphs. The name that emerged was not Tutankhamun's. It read Nefer-Neferuaten, a throne name widely associated with Queen Nefertiti. The implications were profound. According to this reconstruction, the mask was originally created for Nefertiti. When Tutankhamun died unexpectedly, there was no time to produce a new burial mask. His successors, working under immense pressure, repurposed Nefertiti's. They sealed the pierced ears, replaced her face with one bearing the young king's likeness, and erased her name to inscribe his. Today, the mask remains on display, admired by millions. Yet its story appears far more complex than once believed. The discovery serves as a reminder that even the most familiar artifacts may still hold hidden histories, waiting for the right technology to bring them to light.